knows that I know that I'm an Israelite. Every once in a while on my For You page, I come across one of those videos that's like, I'm no longer a part of the Hebrew Israelite cult, and here's why. And when I say that I know that I'm an Israelite, I mean that I'm awakened to the fact that my ancestors, that I'm descendant from the Hebrews, the Israelites of the Bible. I'm not a member of any camp or association or organization, and I didn't come to the knowledge of this truth through social media, through a camp, or through an organization. That being said, every single time I watch one of these videos, there are reoccurring themes, and there are things that these people are complaining of that is consistent throughout all of their testimonies. I guess my question is, when do we as a community look at these experiences that these people are having, that our brothers and sisters are having? Because honestly, at the end of the day, whether they recognize that they are Israelites by blood, by inheritance, they are Israelites. So whether they identify with that or they have just separated themselves from the organization that they were once a part of, they are still people. What point do we take some accountability? At what point do we look at these experiences and we say, hey, there is a problem of pride in this community? At what point do we say that there is a spirit of unrighteous hatred that's rampant in the community? At what point do we acknowledge that there is a spirit of lust rampant in the community? At what point do we acknowledge that there is an issue with domestic violence within the community? At what point do we understand that if we are calling ourselves Yasharel, if we are calling ourselves Israel, Yasharel, called by his name, that if we are not representing him in a righteous manner, and we are not actually living in the spirit according to his law, statutes, and commandments, then we are blaspheming his name, then we are taking his name in vain. Waking up and knowing that you are Israel, you are Yasharel, should not be a point of pride for you. Every wicked Israelite in the Bible knew who they were and were still counted as wicked. At what point do we stop making the excuse that this person who left the camp or the organization or the belief that they're Israelites on the fact that they just wanted to be lawless and to sin? That maybe one of our brothers and sisters' unrighteousness literally turned away a brother or sister from the truth and from the faith. Messiah told us in Matthew chapter 18, verse 6, that whosoever shall offend these little ones that believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged around his neck, and that he were drowned in the sea.
Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushai, Bashim, Arachak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations unto the hopeful elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, you just heard this so-called sister, voice her disgruntledness with the Hebrew Israelite as a so-called community. And if you're trying to go off of the condition and behavior of your nation, we're talking about the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. If you're going off of that and basing your faith off of that particular dynamic, you're going to be disappointed. All right. And this is how you know that this woman here, she really doesn't completely understand the scriptures nor the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Because if she did understand, the Lord is not building and gathering a community. He's not dealing with the nation as a whole. He's dealing with an elect, a remnant. And that particular remnant, they're going to have an established order. They're going to have a standard. All right. They're going to follow after the principles and tenets of Yahushai. Certain examples that he left behind that they would follow. All right. They're not going to be of their own self-interest. All right. They're not going to be after any type of ulterior motive. They're not going to be doing this thing for filthy lucre. So you have a body of believers who are preordained before the foundation of the world. But you're going to have those that, for whatever reason, they're going to get disgruntled and they're going to find some type of alt to no longer, follow the true way. Now, like with this particular woman, she's, typical disgruntleness, from a woman who likely already had a preconceived perception, and when people like this make these type of videos, it's with the intent of voicing a complaint in hopes of encouraging more disgruntled protests as a form of rebellion. That's basically what her intent is. All right, so that they don't feel alone. And the scriptures say, let me go to it. This is Proverbs 17 and 11. Yeah, Proverbs 17 and 11, it says, an evil man seeketh only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. And you're seeing in these last days, faith is bearing, is decreasing. The Lord said when he comes back on earth, will he so find faith on earth? And people, Jake, tend to do this when they start to lose faith. They get disgruntled, and to escape accountability, they shift blame. Well, it's because of this that I'm finding within these Israelite camps or within the Israelite nation, all these different things that make me feel uncomfortable. She's all in her feels, and she sounds no different than that dude Ringo. So they get to feeling this way, and this is their reason that they want to basically, go do their own thing, which, hey, that's fine. One person voicing their disgruntledness, that doesn't mean that the elect ain't being gathered. Yeah, I know certain adversaries, they love to see these type of videos and this type of content as if, this is part of the dysfunction or the depletion of the Israelites, coming back, to their heritage. And the scriptures already tell you that you're going to have those in the latter days that's going to depart from the faith. So that's what it's given. All right. But a lot of these things occur because this is part of the dynamic of the sifting process. Part of the sifting is people being offended, which there's two different examples of offenses. When you read it in the Greek, there's two words. You have sanaizo, that's one of the words, and then you have scandalizo, that's another word. When you look up sanaizo, let's go to Luke 21. Actually, it's Luke 22. And this is what the Lord was, when he spoke with Peter, because Satan was desiring to overthrow the faith of Peter. And this is what Yahushua said, Luke 22 and 31. It says, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan have desired to have you, that he may sift you out as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not, and when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. And mind you, the Lord said he prayed for them, he prayed not for the world. So the Lord, he's not praying for the entire nation to not be sifted out. The Lord is only praying on behalf of his elect. When you read John the 17th chapter. So if you're within the elect, if you're within that body, Yahushua is your advocate in the heavens, praying that you don't get sifted out by the tempter, by Shaitan. That basically your position will remain, and you will be centered within the foundation of the good ground, which Yahushua represents that good ground. He's the foundation. All right. So you look up that word for sift, and the word is sanaizo. All right, sanaizo. And it says here, it says to sift, shaking a sieve, figuratively by inward agitation, to try one's faith to the verge of overthrow. So that's why you'll see certain people, they'll get on TikTok and voice their complaint as to why they no longer feel comfortable being an Israelite or following a particular Israelite organization. That's part of the sifting process. There's something that offends you to where you find reason to no longer believe. Now you'll claim that, no, I'm still a believer. Nah. You want to go and basically do your own thing. You want to follow after your own spirit. Because the Lord has men that's set up on the earth. All right. The Lord said, I have set up pastors according to my heart that will feed you with knowledge and wisdom. He said constantly that he would send out his prophets. He speak by the mouth of the prophets. So they would be here doing the same thing in their lot. But if you don't find them, then, hey, you know, the Lord didn't draw you, because it's the Heavenly Father ultimately that draws you in. Can no man come to the Father but by the Lord? All right. Otherwise, there's going to be something that's set up in the spirit that's going to sift you out. Whatever your argument is, whatever your complaint is, and you do these videos with the intent of protest, encouraging others, you know, that may feel the same way, that may share the same feelings as you, and, you know, this is part of your form of rebellion. But you can't do nothing against the truth before it. All right. So you got this example of being sifted, in which the Lord said that if you're a part of this foundation, if you're a part of this house, nothing is going to move you. Nothing. There's nothing within the principalities, tribulation, persecution. You know, there's no condition that'll move you. All right, you will stay rooted and grounded. All right, you continue in the doctrine that you learned. So let me get this in Hebrews real quick. Yeah, here it is. Let me matter of fact, let me read it in the Amplified Bible. So this is Hebrews 12. And I'm going to start at the 25th verse, and it says, see to it that you do not refuse to listen to him who is speaking to you now. For if those sons of Israel did not escape when they refused to listen to him who warned them on the earth, revealing the Most High's will, how much less will we escape if we turn our backs on him who warns from heaven? His voice shook the earth at Mount Sinai, but now he has given a promise saying, yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the starry heaven. Now this expression, yet once more, indicates the removal and final transformation of all those things which can be shaken. That is, of that which has been created, so that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. And that's why it says, like in 1 John 2 and was it 19? They went out from us because they were not of us. Because if they were of us, they would have very well continued with us. So it's manifest that they're not of us or with us because they're not of the foundation. So they're easily shaken. They're easily removed, whether it be by seducing spirit, all right, with these different wayward doctrines, whether it be disgruntleness because there are certain scandals and different unrighteous situations that you're constantly seeing. She said that it's a pattern. You're going to be disappointed if you're trying to evaluate the whole nation and base your faith off of That in particular. If you was expecting to come to a speckled in spot, you know, a blameless, and you're doing that and evaluating that based off of the whole nation, you deceiving yourself. Because there is no one that doeth good. But you're gonna have men that's gonna be leading by example, even though we fall short. None of us are perfect. So, you know, usually this is an excuse to not have to follow anyone. You don't want to come up under no type of authority or order. So this is why the Lord is not dealing with the entire nation. This is how you know that he's going to cut off 2/3 of our people. 2/3 shall be cut off and die. And only the third is going to make it through the fire. Because he ain't dealing with the whole nation. So that's how you know that a lot of our people that are getting shaken and they're showing that their lack of faith, that's because they didn't make the cut. They're not of the elect. Whatever the problem may be, whatever the complaint is, you don't like how this group is dealing, or you don't like what you're seeing with this situation, or there's domestic violence going on within the community. There's this, that, and the third. Well, what are you going to do about it? You're going to falter? So what's the end game? And then you never hear from these individuals again. So that's all that's happening. All this down talking of Israel, all this murmuring and complaining, all these people denouncing the camps, denouncing the faith. This is all part of the shaking. Sifting out who the Lord didn't choose, who he's not dealing with. And there's way more Israelites that's not going to make it than those that will. It's all about the straight gate, the narrow path. The Lord ain't dealing with the broad way. And that's where most of the Israelites are going to go. I'm pretty sure that woman in this video, she found out being an Israelite seeking through the broad way. You know? Because when the Lord spoke about that parable of the sower and the seed, you had those who fell by the wayside, and then you had those who fell by stony places. And they that fell by the stony places were those who heard the gospel. They heard the news that they were Israel, that they were the chosen people of the Most High, that they were of the promise, and the covenants was made with them, and you know, they get to learn the history of their forefathers and the royalty, and you know, being kings and priests and princesses. And that's all the good side of it, and Jake gets drawn in. But then when persecution arises, when trouble hits, you know, when you start to see that there's other people in the same faith that are not good, that are not good people, then that's when it goes sour. Let me matter of fact, let me go to that. It's Matthew 13 and 21. Matthew 13 and 20. This is still in the Amplified Bible. It says, the one on whom seed was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and at once welcomes it with joy. And you hear the breakdowns, you know, you learn about the commandments, you learn about why we under the curses. It all sounds good. Like, man, I figured it out. You know, blase. You know, you might have heard it through a particular teacher. A lot of y'all that talk shit about the camps, you wouldn't even know nothing about this if you didn't see the camps on YouTube. We the ones that brought this gospel to the forefront, and it's how it spread throughout the whole world through the internet. All right, you didn't learn this from a church pastor. You didn't learn this in Christianity. And I believe that's what she said. She said that she insinuated that she found out about this without having to listen to the camps. I call cap on that. Whoever she was influenced by and taught her, he got influenced and learned from the men out there that's risking their lives out there in the streets. Because that's the scriptures say that wisdom cried without, she uttered her voice in the streets, in the chief place of concourse. That's where you will find the true men at. Where you're gonna get the real wisdom. Not getting a feel-good sermon and then in exchange for money out your pocket. Although you got certain dudes out there that do that in Israel. So continuing on, it says, verse 21, it says, yet he or she has no substantial root in himself, but is only temporary. And when pressure or persecution comes because of the word, immediately he stumbles and falls away, abandoning the one who is the source of salvation. And that's usually what occurs. And when that happens, they start to basically shift the blame. They got to find out, who's to blame and give excuses for their disgruntledness. What's happening in this camp or that camp, whether it's adultery, domestic abuse, or whatever is going on, that's not swaying me from my position. I still believe what I believe, and I still stand on what I stand on. It's not going to move my faith. But that's typical of a disgruntled woman. Especially when the woman is the weaker vessel. So her faith is not going to be as strong. And she lived based off of her emotions. So if she feels disoriented and uncomfortable, she will abandon. She will leave off until she finds some type of comfort or what makes her feel good. And that's why it says in Timothy that they will heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, because they want to hear something that makes them feel good. But it is what it is, if you disbelieve or whatever the case may be, hey, that's your story. But at the end of the day, there's still a work to be done. The Lord said the laborers, the harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. So there's still plenty of work to do. And we only do this for the elect's sake. We endure our hardness for the elect. We don't give a damn about the community, because the Lord ain't dealing with the community. All right, Baal is the God of the community. The Lord is only dealing with his elect, the remnant. The scriptures say in Romans 11:7, the election have obtained it and the rest were blinded. So you're going to be very disappointed, all right, trying to base your belief off of the condition of the entire community. What is wrong with you? Israel is a rebellious people, a sinful nation. So, yeah, you could blame the Israelites, for your lack of faith, but that's not gonna excuse you in the time of judgment, because at the end of the day, we all must appear before the judgment seat. All right. Matter of fact, let me get that. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 5 and was it 10? And it says, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of a Mashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body. So even the people that you are having issues with as far as their conduct, these behaviors or these different patterns of behavior that's going on is making me feel uncomfortable. It is offending me. Well, those people, they're going to have to appear before the judgment seat. They're individually going to be punished for their wickedness. Worry about you. Seek out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Why are you worrying about everybody else? They're gonna die in their sins, man. But hey, this is a woman at the end of the day, a so-called sister. So everybody must appear before the judgment seat. And you don't want to be one of those that appear before the judgment having had fell away from your hope. Scriptures say, blessed is he whose conscience have not condemned him, and he who has not fallen from his hope. And if you offended and that's your reason to fall away, you're not blessed. And you still got to appear before the judgment. It says, according to that he have done, whether it be good or bad, knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto the Most High, and I trust also are made manifest in your consciences. All right, and Jake is gonna, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Jake is gonna find reason to complain about whatever. They complained against Moses. Different examples of leadership that Jake rebelled against. They slew the prophets. They came against Yahushua. They said he was gluttonous and a wine bibber. John the Baptist, he didn't eat nor drink, and they said he had a devil, or he had a demon on him. So you can't appease. We're not going to be able to appease Israel. There's just, the Lord is displaying in real time that Jake, they never have faith. And the Lord called that from the beginning. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 20. And it says, and he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. And this is all we're seeing, man. All this, the whole blame game, all these complaints, all this scoffing. This is just Jake crying out that they don't have faith. And those cries are being loud and heard by the Heavenly Father, man. All right. And this is why Jacob's trouble is coming up on the next exit. And you went for long miles, man. But he gonna cut it short for the elect's sake. All right. And Salaki, I forgot to go into that word. And was that Matthew 13? Because I mentioned two offenses. The first one was the example that Yahushua was telling Peter about how Satan is desiring to sift them out as wheat, because that's a way of offense, right? Now here, the word offended, Matthew 13 and 21, the word is scandalizo. And you go down here, it says to put a stumbling block or impediment in the way upon which another may trip and fall, metaphorically to offend. Yeah, and in this context, if you're responsible for that, meaning you doing something wicked and you causing others to follow your example, you being a stumbling block to them. And therefore, it's better that you cast that, you put a millstone about your neck and you be casted into the sea. It says to entice to sin, to cause a person to begin to distrust and desert one whom he ought to trust and obey. All right. And a lot of these Israelites, they fall into this dynamic, man. They start to distrust, the following, and they start to desert, and they give the reasons why, or their complaint To cause to fall away, to be offended in one, i.e. to see in another what I disapprove of, and what hinders me from acknowledging his authority. This is what they do. Jake looking for something to find an excuse to not follow. All right. To cause one to judge unfavorably or unjustly of another. You know, you're looking at these women on social media talking about their experience with a particular guy that mistreated them, and now all the men ain't right. So leave the whole Israelite thing. Just you know, leave it all behind. Go back to plantation Christianity. Since one who stumbles or whose foot gets entangled feels annoyed. To cause one displeasure at a thing. All right, so you're gonna have that, and that's all these Jakes that are on here voicing their offenses. So the Lord pretty much put them in that category, because you're not of the elect. So the Lord said, "He that is not with me is against me." All right. So, hey, I'm going to end off on that note, and hopefully y'all were edified. I'm going to give all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And to the next one, Shalom.